Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Star and Flurry. I'm Nancy. Thank you for being here, or thank you for returning. It's always appreciated. This is the first of what may be several weekly kind of catch ups on Sundays. I don't. I shoot for 3 o'clock upload, but I'm already running late, so it may be later than that. But I hope this finds you all well and healthy and having a good time. I'm having a good time. It finally got above freezing today, which has changed the world outside. It has just been this frozen tundra for Jesus the last I don't even know how long, more than a week. And I love snow and I plow through it without issue. But when the ice hits, and I talked about this in my last video, but it's just the worst. You can't do anything. You can't walk in it. You can't drive in it. God, don't drive in it. We've had so many vehicle deaths here just in the last week and a half. It's just for people slipping off the road and sliding it into semis. God rest their souls. But oh my God, one whole family, except for one little girl in the family, perished in an accident. And it was just like, oh my God. It's just so very sad when those things happen. I just can't even believe it. A whole family of six, five were killed. One was, well, I don't know if they were all immediate family, but they were all connected in some way. It's just so sad. Anyways, so on that happy note, I wanted to. So I've been taking a little note. It's so funny because I thought when I said I was going to do this, I thought I don't have anything to say. I don't do anything. I don't have anything to say. You know, old retired person. What's interesting? And then I just started writing down little moments and thoughts and things like that. Things that happened, things that came up, and suddenly I have probably more than I really need to chat at you for 30 or so minutes. So if I go long, my apologies, or I may just cut it short and leave some for the next week. Um, but I think so first off, I have kind of an order of things I want to talk about. So I don't know if any of you remember, and if you're not familiar, sorry, knows it. If you're not familiar with, I had a friend ages ago. Well, let's say a college friend, who I stayed in touch with for many, many years, who just became someone that wasn't good for me. Not in a physical sense, just in a mental sense. Just always directing me, telling me to quit my job, do this, be a better person for all of mankind. And it was easy for him to say because he was well funded. I was not. I was, he could do whatever he wanted, and I could not. I was working day to day, living paycheck to paycheck, and it was really difficult to hear those kind of words out of a friend. Um, and so I finally just kind of cut him off. And my mistake was that I blew him off without really saying anything. I didn't know I was ghosting him at the time because I don't think that term had been invented, but that's exactly what I did. And I never felt good about it. And then I try to make this short. So, anyways, we went to, back when we were friends in college, we went to a thing back east, which was really cool. But I ended up having to borrow $200 from him. And I never got around to paying him back. And that always weighed on me. I mean, back then, $200 was a chunk of change. Well, even now it is. But back then, it was a chunk of change. And I had just never had enough in my savings and in my paychecks to pay him off. And anyway, so I ghosted him, not because of the money, just because every time the phone rang and I knew it was him, I would just like, oh my God, I would just crumble because I knew I was going to be corrected and reprimanded and talked. Everything with him was a negotiation, and it was so annoying. And it took me a long time to figure that out, a long time. And once I did, I looked back at our history and I was like, oh my God, this has been going on for years. For years. He's been directing my life, usurping my ideas, taking over ideas that I had, projects that I had, just taking them over. And me kind of going, kind of under the guise of, I'm helping you. And I'm like, okay, but I didn't really ask. But I wasn't on top of it enough to really make that recognition. Anyways, once I started to piece it together, it felt very quickly. I was like, I want nothing to do with you. You're just, so fast forward, I finally was in a financial position to pay him back. And, oh, well, and he kept pepper. I hadn't spoken to him in probably 12 years, maybe more. I can't even remember. The story I told before may have been different, but whatever it was a long period of time. But he would find me and leave these weird messages and not I don't want to say creepy messages, just why aren't you calling me back? And I'm kind of thinking, well, not calling you back is your answer. Just leave me alone. Um, and he just kept finding me. Anyways, I ended up moving. He knew where I lived in my previous two places. He had those addresses from long before. But I moved, and yes, I had the same phone number, but I didn't have the same address. And one day I turn around and I get a letter from him, kind of saying, "I just still don't understand why you won't contact me." Blah 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 blah. So I was like, fine. Let me write you a letter and tell you why I don't like you, which is a really rotten letter to write. But I did it because that's what he wanted. And I was like, fine, here you go. And I just explained to him that he wore me out, that the negotiations were annoying and tiresome, and I just can't deal with them anymore. And um, da 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 da. And in the meantime, I took the $200, I added a reasonable interest rate over a period of time, and sent him a check for, I think it was like $980 to cover everything. I said, here you go. It's 200 back plus interest. Thank you for the loan. Let's call this over. So I get a letter back saying, I don't feel comfortable accepting your check for that amount. And I said, so I wrote him back, I said, fine, why don't you give it to, and I know he's really into animal shelter, or at that time, Ukraine had just exploded. So give it to a Ukrainian family relief fund or something, get balance. I'm happy with whatever you choose, uh, and then keep the $200. So he writes me back again. It says, well, that's all fine and good, but what about this project? And he was relating to a professor of ours from college who had now moved up into Oregon and was heading up a small program in an arts college up there. And now he had kept in touch with this professor forever. I introduced them. I was good friends with this guy, and then I introduced them, and suddenly I don't see the professor anymore because my friend has robbed him of. That was what I didn't realize for the longest time. Anyways, I did stay in touch with this professor, as I didn't stay in touch with any professor, but he did. He stayed in touch with this guy, and he said, let's donate the balance to that project. And I said, that sounds great. I wrote him back. That sounds great. What a great idea. Okay, terrific. The next letter I get back is the check back. And because one of the things I'd said to him is in the letter, I said, that's fine, but just don't put me on any mailing lists. Keep my name out of it, anonymous, please. Because I just funded a pretty big project, or helped my dad fund with my brother a pretty big project through Portland State University. And I knew that I was going to get on a million give us money lists from that. And I just didn't want to add myself to any more. And so I told him to do that. So he writes me back. And I wasn't very specific. I just said, I've got some other projects in the works that I'm doing. So that's why I'm asking for this. So he sends a check back and says, now I'm not comfortable taking it all. You obviously have other plans for your money, and it would make you feel better. I'm sure. I think this is what you want to do. Once again, he hasn't talked to me in 15 years. We've been writing back and forth for a month, getting reacquainted, and suddenly he knows more about what I want to do with my money than he does, and where my interests lie. He just knows more about it. And let me just make this decision for you. And that just freaking brought it all back in one fell. I mean, as I wrote him, I said, yeah, and he goes, I hope you don't take this as disrespectful. And I wrote back and said, of course it's disrespectful. You just virtually slapped me in the face. We had an agreement. First of all, I wrote you a letter and told you it was your negotiating issues that drove me the most crazy, and how I had to do everything your way. And that's because your way is the most thought out and well thought out. And then he turns around and does the same damn thing. So I was like, okay, you know what? We're done. Now we're done. And it was funny because I was writing this letter back to him, kind of explaining to him that this is what I was talking about. Sorry about my nose. This is what I'm talking about. You just, it should have been thanks. What should have happened is, here's your money. He should have said, wow, that's a lot. I'll take your $200, but I'd like to donate the rest, and then do it. That should have been the end of it. But no, 4 letters, I think it was, back and forth, with the last one being the check back in the mail to me, telling me what I really want to do with my money. Sorry, I keep making the thing shake. So, so it was like, now we're done. And when I was writing him back to tell him that, well, I was writing him back to tell him why, once again, he is, does he even see what he does? And then I kind of realized as I writing the letter that no, he doesn't, and he will never change. He has been this way for life. It'd be like somebody coming up to me and saying, stop being, I'm generally a fairly positive person. Hard to tell right now, but yeah, I generally am. It would be like somebody saying, you need to be more cynical. And that's all fine and good. And I don't like you unless you get more cynical, but I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be that way. It's not in my personality to be that way. And I realized that it's not in his personality to be anything but the way he is. That's just the way it is. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I can't change it. I don't want to be around it anymore. So, once again, don't want to be around it anymore. So, I said, so at the end of the letter, I said, I had not intended to say this, but I'm walking away again. And you know why this time. Have a great life. It looks like you have a good life and a good partner that you're with, and Yahoo for you. And I hope everything goes really well. It was great catching up, but this is goodbye. And then I didn't hear a word from him, which was fine. I mean, I guess I expected something like, I'm sorry it turned out this way or something, but no. And fine. Cheers. Have a little coffee. That was fine. And it was so funny because I got a reading shortly thereafter. Not shortly after I'd sent the letter, but maybe a month or two, and it was bothering me that I hadn't gotten some kind of ending from him back. And it was a reader that I really respect and appreciate. And he said he was reading, and he goes, in fact, I'm going to talk about him later. The Dove and Serpent, if you're not familiar with him, he's just really interesting fellow. He reads from the Thoth, but always includes a RWS card in the reading. It's kind of fun. Anyways, he was reading these cards, and he kind of, it was so interesting. He just mapped out my story in the cards. And then when he got to the 4, he always does a Celtic cross. When he got to the 4 on the side, he goes, this you're not going to hear from this guy again, and that's just the way he wants it. It's his way of controlling you. So don't fall into that. Don't take the bait and contact this person for closure, because it's going to be the same old thing. And I was just like, okay, I hear you. And he says, and walk away feeling good. You were honest. I mean, it was as if he was inside my mind, knew the whole story. So I took it completely at face value and said, okay, I'm done with this, and I'm not going to think. And then I did a video on it saying, do you always need to forgive? And I think the consensus was, no, you do not. You do not, or whatever, because I wasn't into forgiving him. He was just kind of a hellish person in my life, and it took me a long time to figure that out. And I'm mad at him about that, and I will remain mad at him about that. It doesn't take anything away from me. It doesn't make me walking through life as an angry person. It just makes me, I'm mad at him, and I'm not ready or willing to forgive him at this point, because it was he's been kind of a nightmare. So, and never once has he kind of said sorry. Didn't realize you were, I think in the very first letter, he said, I didn't realize you were interpreting it that way. Not that he was that way, that I was perceiving it that way. Well, perception is all of it, really, isn't it, in the long run? So, yeah, whatever. I could go on and on and on, and I'll try not to. So, anyways, 2 days ago, I get a letter from him. 2 days ago. Nothing about anything except, I wanted to tell you about this dream I had. And he goes on this kind of weird dream, and it's really weird. I can't even, the letter's right there. I'm not going to read it, but it was just really weird. And I'm like, although I will be honest, in reading it, it made me laugh, it made me smile, it made me remember him the way he was when I first met him, before he got his talons in me. And and I thought I should, and I was thinking I should write him back, say thanks for sharing that with me. And then I thought, why? Why are you opening that door? Don't. He knocked. Don't fucking open that door. Let it go. You said goodbye. That's the end. End of story. And so this same reader I was watching this morning. So I've been kind of mulling that around in my head. Like, what should I do? And hadn't really completely decided that I wasn't going to write him back. But I was listening to that same reader, Devon Serpent, this morning. And he kind of got into this whole thing about this authoritarian. He kept calling it an elder card, and for the of elder card, man or woman, blah blah blah, having spending a lot of time kind of criticizing you and doing things like that. And he kept kind of referring to that. Then throughout the reading, he started referring to it as an elderly male, past maybe or not. But in the end, I thought, at first I was thinking it was my mom, because she was a very strong individual and I could see her having a lot of male power and being represented. But whatever that card was, I don't read thoughts, so I couldn't tell what he was holding up. Um, but I later started to think, God, is it this guy? Is that the powerful, kind of elder? Because I was older than he, but he always kind of acted like the one in charge, the one, whatever. So, but somewhere in the reading, he just kind of said, no, you need to, yeah, this is done. This is over. You don't need that negativity and you are in your own power. Stop it. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously. He took an hour to kind of get around to that, but that was in the end, that's what he was saying. And it was so clear. And then when I was doing a reading kind of for myself the other night, and I hadn't really focused in on this question, but I got the authority card from the what's it called? I can never remember the name of it. It's called the Turning Terrestrial Tides Tarot. There's the box. And how long have I talked? Okay, we're good. So anyway, so these are the backs. I love this deck. I just got it with a Kickstarter. I don't know if it was the Kickstarter. I think another deck was a Kickstarter. I think you could add this on it because this was a pocket. I said, add it on. Any smaller decks are my jam. Anyways, in this particular reading I was doing first, I got the authority card, which is the Hierophant. And I was so intrigued by there's a couple of phrases right here and then over here. And the first phrase is just it's a question, and it's just the same question over and over and over again. And it says, "What's true for you?" And then the little quote on here is power and authority. One is inherent. The other requires our permission and cooperation. And I was so struck by that. I've been on this planet a long time, and I can't believe that this kind of didn't occur to me at some point. But I thought it was so poignant and so relevant to this particular situation. Power and authority. One is inherent, the other requires our permission and cooperation. So I thought, so that was like, ooh, lesson learned. And then I pulled out the little guidebook because I wanted to see what they expanded on, if they expanded on that. And again, I struggled reading this the other night because the print is really small in my glasses. I need a new prescription. But let me read this if I can. So the authority, the Hierophant. What do you know? Seriously, what do you really know? Let's start small. 1 + 1 = 2. I before E, except after C. Now go bigger. Zoom out. Who are our institutions truly benefiting? Who and what do you give your sense of personal authority to? Hierophants are historically necessary, or were, I should say. Well, yeah, sorry, I misread that. Hierophants were historically necessary to translate sacred and legal texts for a largely illiterate population. Imagine that power and influence and mistranslation, I would bet. But we're not illiterate population. We are not an illiterate population anymore. So forget what you think you know and ask yourself what is true for you. Your instincts are a trusted source. You're an institution unto yourself. And I thought between this and Dove and Serpent's readings, I'm like, yep, I'm feeling very comfortable about being the one who's not responding this time, because I have no interest in having this person back in my life. I just don't. I'm just gonna. I mean, when the letter was in the box, my stomach just dropped, and I was like, ugh. I mean, that's a terrible way to feel when you get a real letter in the mail. When you get a real letter in the mail, it should be ooh. But in this case, it was like, ugh. Now what? I mean, seriously, now what? And it brought it all back, and I was like, okay, we're no. So thank you, Turning Terrestrial Tides Tarot and Dove and Serpent Tarot. Thank you. I'll link his channel below, because he's really fascinating and interesting, and I really would like to spread some love over his direction. So there's that. What else did I say? Okay, talked about that. Oh, so I had a realization. So we're coming up on my decade, which I'm very excited about. I fell off. Lisa Papaz was here the other day, and she was talking about having fallen off the deck and walk early. And me too. I was so good for like the first two or three. And then I even bought the book. I was reading along and highlighting and doing everything. And then I don't know which one it was, but I was just like, oh God, I'm not sure I have the mental heft to keep lifting this walk. And then I just fell off really bad. But anyways, it just occurred to me. Oh, so so I'm looking at somebody's. Oh, I wish I had the deck here, but I don't. Or do I? Yes, I do. I got this in the mail. I think it was Lisa Pepez who was talking about it. I know I can't remember the name of it. The Wild Way Oracle. Just came out on Kickstarter. Came with a cute little pouch that is technically too small, but actually they put out a thing that said keep working your cards in there if you can without wrecking them around the zippers, and it eventually will stretch out. And mine actually has. I still can't get the whole deck in there all at once in one fell swoop, but I can if I put them in kind of in smaller chunks, and one by one it's getting easier to do that. So just for those of you who have that issue, if you work at it a little bit, you're probably going to be okay. Anyway, so it's the Wild Way Oracle, and this is what I get for not reading the guidebook, but it is separated. All of the cards are separated into all the three decans, or the three part. Is each chunk of three a decan, or is it each one? I think it's 10 days. Yeah, so each chunk is a decan. So this is divided by all of the zodiacal decans, and then also by the pagan seasons and something else maybe. And I just didn't even realize that. So I went through and found my card, which I wish was on top, but maybe I shuffled them before. Oh no, nope. Oh, I should have done this before I got here. Nothing more fun than watching somebody shuffle through their cards looking for specifics, but I'm going to do it anyways because first I have to show you that card. It's so stinking cute. Anyways, yeah. It's a really cute deck. It's fun. The artwork is very simple. Yeah, here they are. So okay, so decan. So I'm an Aquarian. And so the first decan is broaden your horizons. The second decan, which is what I'm in, is the space in between. And the third decan is tangled thoughts. And I just love these three cards together. I just think they're totally cool. And now I'm bad. I didn't get organized enough to actually have the description of the spaces between. But one of the things I believe it mentions. I want to show you this card because I just looks like this the Yule card. The cute little bunnies, little shadows, bunnies in the sun and the snow. Oh my God, I just love it. Anyways, so as I was reading up on it, it said coordinated with the Six of Swords, and I was like, I knew that. I knew the Six of Swords was my decan card, which I remember when I first saw it, I was not particularly happy about. But then later, it was like, wait a minute, because I chose that card. We had a what do they call those things? A tag a while back, and one of the questions was either pick. I can't remember if it was pick your favorite card or pick the card that describes you the best currently, or something like that. And I had very easily and quickly picked the Six of Swords, but I had no in my whole time of doing the short time of doing the deck and walk when I was doing it. See, no, I'm struggling to get it there. I never made the connection, and I just thought that was so interesting because to me that is the Six of Swords. And now I hear all this stuff about Pluto going into Aquarius, which is a really big deal, I guess. And it just makes me think the Six of Swords is just even closer to my heart than I knew. So anyway, so I wanted to share that with you. Now, let's talk about a rant. I was influenced to buy the Green Witch's Oracle. Who's it by? It's put out by Adams Media. And it says Aaron Murphy Hiscock is the author of The Green Witch's Garden, The Green Witch's Garden Journal, The Green Witch's Grimoire, Spellcrafting the Pregnant Goddess, Wicca Green Witch, on and on and on and on. So on the front it says, embrace the wisdom and insight of natural magic. Aaron Murphy Hiscock, author of The Green Witch, illustrated by Sarah Richard. So I got it in the mail. I was so excited. It's a beautiful packaging. It's kind of what do they call this? Embossed here. It's gorgeous box. Little chunky book and a beautiful deck of cards, which is just really interesting. Oh, here, let me show you the backs. Backs are cool. The artwork is very cool, and it has three. And it has the artwork with a description of it, and then three keywords or not three keywords, but two or three clarifiers, I guess would be the word. So here's mushroom, and under mushroom it says recycling, breaking down problems. Rain, cleansing, purification, hydration. Soil, stability and simplicity. Bee, community, cooperation, sweetness of the honey. So it's really I love this. Like squirrel is my, or maybe it's a chipmunk, but anyways, it's my Patronus. Preserve, security, forethought, and thrift. Just it's a really cool deck, and everything was fine until I threw some cards and went to do a reading, and discovered that there simply is no index at all. Are the cards are not numbered. They are not in alphabetical order. They are not even in one of the things they talk about is that the cards are divided, working with the deck are divided by kind of four things. I don't have it handy. I should have gotten this out so I could be clearer about it. But I mean, it has a lot of really interesting information in it. It really does. But anyway, so these are broken up. The cards themselves are broken up by like tools, potions, growing seasons, things like that. I mean, there is a method to the madness, but they don't really share it with you in terms of meanings. And I don't feel that this deck is strongly intuitive, because they give you a whole lot of descriptions. There's a lot of words on these cards. So it's not necessarily left up to your intuition to interpret them, which makes this lack of an index. And I seriously have gone through this deck several times looking for one. Like maybe it's hiding somewhere and I just don't see it. Yeah, the cards in this deck are based on the tenets of green magic: seasons, stages of plant growth, garden tools, magical tools, herbs, stones, and garden creatures. But each card has been selected according to its symbolism and how it can function in a green witch's practice. I don't purport to be a green witch by any stretch, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy it. But anyways, so yeah, so no, so you're hunting through this. Like I said, it's not alphabetical. The cards were in any particular order that I could determine when they came in the deck. So what I did, for anybody who's having trouble with that, what I did, and I've done this with a couple other decks too, is I get out my trusty computer and I'll put this, I don't know if I can get close enough for you to see it, but basically what I did is I wrote down every thing, every card, and then the page number associated with that card. And if this is close, I can't get it much closer without losing it on the screen. But feel free to take a screenshot of this if you need an index to the Green Witch's Oracle. Anyway, so yeah, so I wrote down every card, wrote down the number, the page number associated with it, and then I sorted the names alphabetically. So now when I pull the Mint card, I can just go down to the M's, find Mint, page 63, go to 63, and find it. Mint. So my rant is this. Why? If you want people to intuitively interpret decks, then I get it. Then maybe there's a reason that you don't want them that you want them to hunt for whatever it is they're looking for. But in this case, this is not that. And maybe I'm missing something. Is there I don't know. Is there the borders are all the same color. I don't see anything defining the 5 categories that I described. Anything defining that on the cards, except you find out when you look it up, which you have to hunt for. And that just seems, I just don't get that. And so I have a real problem with that, and I'm not going to apologize for that, because these you should be able to find information. And when these companies make it difficult, I just don't get it. So anyways, that's what I did. And like I said, I've done it for a couple of decks. I can't remember the other one. What was the other one? It was one of the Nocturnal Oracle, or I can't remember, but it was one of those that I ended up having to do this very same thing, because it makes me not want to work with a deck when I have to struggle with the guidebook to figure out what the heck I'm looking at. That's just why. And I'm not looking for super easy. I'm just looking for common sense. It's like it's like some of the, I know that I've pointed these out before, where they're like in the guidebook they're listed by page number, but not alphabetical, and they're not in the book alphabetical, or by it's so you're like struggling to so if you're looking for one specific thing, you can't look it up by page number because you don't know what the page number is. So you have to look it up by the thing, which is not in any kind of order. And so it's like, well, why did you even bother then? And come on a computer at any printer who's putting this together, all they need to do is sort ascending, boom, and it comes down in alphabetical order. And I don't understand why that isn't done more often. I mean, I think of the decks that I have, I think there's 2 that had that issue, where they included an index, but it was a worthless index because it didn't tell you, and it gave you nothing, give you no way to sort what it is you were looking for. So that's my rant for the day. Where are we at here? 30. Okay, it's very sunny out. I really like it. So I think I'm gonna stop there. I wanted to add, my last video I did was on or I kind of talked a bunch, but I also talked about soft shufflers, and there was one specific deck that I had inadvertently left out, which came into my eyesight the other day, and I thought, yeah, it's one I should include, and it's really a nice deck, and I don't hear it talked about that much. Maybe because it's older. I don't know when it came out, but it's called the Awakened Tarot. It comes in a beautiful box, metal or magnet. Welcome to living life deliberately. It's is there a book with it? Yeah, there is. This is the RYVE, Reeve. Does it say? If you can dream it, you can achieve it. So copyright 2022, Sally Willems, WILL. Can't talk. Let me say that again. Copyright 2022 by Sally Willems, WILLMS. Can be found at, I'll put a link below, but www. I don't know how to pronounce it, Rivi or Rive, myrive.com. I'll put it in the description. Anyways, so they have a nice little guidebook. Don't need an index in a tarot book, do you? No, you do not. Because the system itself has an order, which is very nice. Anyways, let me just show you the shuffle real quick. And I know not everybody shuffles, and I get that. But for those who do, but I'm okay, once again, operator error, sorry. My chair's a little low, which puts this desk not at the best shuffling angle for me. But anyways, let's try this again. Give me some room here. Come on. There we go. There's a legitimate thing. I'm struggling with this, but it's actually much easier. I haven't been shuffling too many cards this morning. My hands aren't quite warmed up. But anyways, and I got a few comments on my last video about people saying, I don't ever riffle and because it wrecks the cards. And they're right. I've wrecked so many decks doing that. Mostly because my hands are just not quite long enough, and then I end up catching the edges with my nails or something like that. And that's why I love linen decks, because you don't have that issue. Linen decks don't have that layer, except for, is it the Witch's Garden? The Garden of which one is that? That one that just came out from Llewellyn a while back, one of their first linen editions, and it chips like a mother. I don't know how they made a linen, and I know it's not linen, but it's a linen, what they call a linen style deck. I don't know how you can make a linen style deck and still have that much damage just from shuffling. So that irritates me about that deck. I still love it. I love and I have a green pen that is absolutely the right color. And so I go through and fix those chips super easy. I think I edged it in that same green too. It's really lovely. And so, but chips all the way through the deck. I mean, I know there's a point at which decks start to just look used and lovely, and they get a neat patina and a nice soft feel. But chips to me are chips. They just look uncared for some reason. But anyways, I shuffle this deck a lot, and not a single chip ever. So I don't know what's going on with that. And I love the backs. I think they're really cool. Very cool. And the cards themselves are really cool. And it's a kind of a matte. They're not super slippy, but they still shuffle really nicely. And they're not shiny at all. And I like the artwork. It's very clean and crisp. And colorful, beautiful moon card. And I would call it more of a modern deck, but not really. It's not modern like the modern day witch or other. It's just like updated a little bit. And I like the simple fonts. And there is a little bit of, I don't know if you can catch it on here, but there's a little bit of gold in the border and on the there it is, on the font, just a little bit of gold. What do they call that? Gold foiling or whatever. But yeah, I just think this is a really lovely deck, and I don't see it getting a lot of love on the YouTubes, except I don't really look for it on the YouTubes. So maybe it does get love, and I'm just not aware of it. But anyways, highly recommend it. Again, I'll link this down below. I think it's still available. I'm guessing it would still be available. Highly recommend. So anyways, that does it for Nancy's first Saturday catch up with Nance. A Nance chats, whatever we want to call it. Anyways, I thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me something to do on a Sunday afternoon. And I hope you enjoy it. And thanks for coming along for the ride. Star and Flurry out.